puzzles with HSB. Last time out, we had a pretty successful puzzle session. We got 7 right, only 2 wrong, and we got ourselves back above 2,000 rated in puzzles. So we're going to see if we can continue that strong momentum today, and if we can keep going up towards even perhaps 2,100 in puzzles. As is tradition here, we will start with the daily puzzle on Leech Us, and this one's it's a pretty one. It's rook e6, f5, and then after queen f5, you play bishop d7 and you pick up the queen. So that went pretty quickly, but you win the queen for the rook and the bishop, and pawns are equal, and you're about to start picking off all of black's pawns. So better for white. Alright, so now we've got this puzzle here. Looks like we have this really imposing pair of rooks on the back rank, and this king seems to be in a bit of trouble. And note that rook d8 not possible because of either rook captures d8 and the other rook recaptures, and we're up a full rook on d8. So the only question is, how can we close the noose on this king? Well, if we think about it, we can play rook h8, king g7, rook d to g8, king f6, and the king runs away. So we need to make sure that the king can't run. So it looks like we've got 2 ways to prevent the king from running. First option is playing h6 and then going for our same line. Now there's no g7 square for the king to go to. We also have an option of g5 for when king g7 stopping king f6. So now is really the choice. Do we choose g5 or h6? Well, the weakness with g5 is it's a playable move. I don't think it mates because he has g takes h5. And now the g6 square has been cleared for the king as well, and f5 because we pushed g5. So if we went g5, gh5, rook h8, king g6, rook b to g8, king f5, the king escapes. So it looks like our option here is playing h6 and takes away g7 from the king, and mate looks rather unstoppable. He could play rook to g1, king f2, and that's about all there is to it. h6 a no-go. Rook h8, king g7, and now g5. How does this work? Because you play f5. h6, king f7. I'm perplexed. Isn't this a simpler winning method by simply playing h6? King takes h6, rook h8, king g5. Oh, okay, so the king escapes this way. Okay, so it looks like we're in a bit of a spot. This is not looking good because we just got skewered. Good news is it is our move. So let's take a look at queen g6, because we threatened mate g4. And now even queen f6 would be sufficient too, it looks. No, because then there's rook f1. And we have problems. So queen g6, if you take on f8, you get mated on g2. So queen g6, something, g4. Quick side note here, this bishop technically is pinned and cannot capture the queen. So I wonder if we could turn this to our advantage. Playing something rook b1-ish. Rook takes b1, bishop takes on c5. Yeah, that doesn't look great. Queen g6 seems to be the move, but oh, there is no captures on f8. So there's only captures a7. Okay, good to know. Good to know. See, what if we go bishop f5 or bishop c5? Queen takes on c5 and then queen f6. Rook f1. We don't have checks on d4. Okay. What if we played rook g2? Well, it looks like obviously king g2, queen g6. King gets forced to the h file. And and hello to all the people in the chat. I'm sorry, it's in slow mode right now, and my internet is not amazing, so it's taking a little bit. But thank you guys for checking out the channel. And let's see, we go rook g2, king g2, queen g6. And what do you have here? Okay, let's say king h1. Bishop is still pinned, so we could technically even go rook f2 here. King g1 and... But I'm partial to trying to mate with this rook takes g2 idea. King h2, I don't like the idea of king h2 because then I get rook f2 check and I get queen g2 mate. So rook g2, king g2, queen g6, king h1 looks to be only continuation for white. And then I have something like queen to g3, perhaps. Yeah, I think I'm going to go rook g2. No, obviously. Rook c8, and we pile up on the pinned bishop. Oh, that is my problem. I'm always too grandoise looking for mate, and that's why my puzzle rating is back below 2,000 again. Okay, let's play some chess here, boys. Okay, so obviously there's the start of rook g2, and that's basically immediate perpetual check. Huh. Well, there's check king h7. I don't know if that does anything. Because there's no way for a rook to get back to g2. And if I just move the g pawn, then just rook d2, and then check, check, check. Well, I guess I could run my king to e1, but that would be a really bad idea. Because, let's say rook c8, king h7, something, d7. Rook g2, played king f1, and then rook h2, and I have to go back to g1, and then it's just checks with this guy, and there's no getting out of it. What if we just went straight for d7? d7, rook g2, king f1, rook h2. Then I could play d8 queen. d8 queen with check, and should be winning. So d7, so obviously you can't keep checking. So you play rook d2, then I can play check and d8 queen. Okay, is there something about this that check doesn't accomplish? Check, king h7, d7. Well, now there's no d8 queen with check. So that gives him another tempo to do something. So I'm going to say this is the immediate d7, rook takes g2. And now I'm leaning not towards king h1, because then just rook h2, king g1, rook g2 check. And I gain nothing. So we go to king f1. Because now if you keep checking, I can play e1. And if you go back, and then I have d8 queen with check. King f1 correct. Rook g to d2. Alright, so what have we got here? So we've got some checks, and then we can promote. So remember, we always have the idea of rook e1 to stop mate. So the question is, which check should we pull? Should we pull rook c8, king h7, and then d8 queen? Or should we pull rook e8 check, king h7, d8 queen? Is there a difference? Yes, there is. If you go rook e8, king h7, d1 queen, you get rook a1 check. You have to block rook e1. Rook takes e1, and then rook takes there on d8. So we're going to say rook c8 check, king h7, and now d8 equals queen. Rook a1 check, rook e1, rook takes d8, and now we're not playing this and this. So we play rook takes on d8, and we have solved a nice complicated puzzle. Move that jumps out at you is queen f5, just going for queen h7. So is there a response? Yeah, you can play just knight f6. No, knight f6 fails miserably, because then g6 is a whole, g5 is a whole, and everything's a whole. So queen f5, knight f8. Okay, so that's a legitimate defense there. But now we're forcing all of his pieces away from the center of the board. There should be some continuation that lets us do something. Okay, let's stop wishful thinking and start solving some puzzles. This bishop is currently out of play, because it should have a free rein to the king if the pawn on d4 wasn't there. But the only way to get rid of the pawn on d4 is to sacrifice the bishop for it, and I'm not ready to do that just yet. Okay, so we saw that queen f5 gets met by knight f8. Alright, is there something else here after queen f5, knight f8? Sure doesn't look like it. I could play b4. Hold up. Okay, let's see. That knight on a5 is near getting trapped. We could play b4, b just takes b4. Oh, but then bishop takes it. Boom. And we just eliminated the big defender, and then we have this massive bishop on d4. This looks like a big improvement because b4 threatens to trap the knight since all the knight squares are covered. And you force c takes b4, and then we can play bishop takes b4 check, and the king gets annihilated. Most likely, at least. Let's try it. b4, knight f6. I'd be interested to analyze this puzzle later after the solution comes up, and because this probably just takes a5, takes a4, takes... because the queen can't get me. So, yeah, just b takes a5. And so what I'm interested in is this captures, and now we have, obviously this is very strong. And now there looks not really to be a response here. So we have king h6, but then there's queen g8. And that wins because you have to play knight f8. And you can just play, I don't know, something. Yeah, I think that puzzle's a little bit sketchy because if you just roll down the main line with the c captures b4, it becomes a lot harder. Okay, knight g5 played. Got a weird feeling this is some sort of queen trap puzzle. Because the black queen really doesn't have that many squares. Alright, so let's check out knight f5, and okay, not much happening there. Knight f5 attacks the queen. Doesn't really leave it with many places to go. You could go queen here, takes, and then you pick up this knight. So queen h2 looks to be the square. King e1. You're threatening to pick up the knight on g5. So then the knight has to move queen h2, king e1, and not to f3 since I discovered so like knight h3. And I can even go in with queen h6 and it looks like we have a totally winning attack because we'd have the g file open and everything just goes. Knight f5, correct, queen h2. Now there's three options. Not a huge fan of d1 or f1 because then we've pinned the knight when we go to f1. And is there any other tricks here? If we go king e1, there's knight f3 tricks because if you take that, you lose this. King e1, knight f3 looks... No, that's not good. So there's king to d1. Now there's no knight f3 tricks because I can just play queen h6. So not e1. Now let's check f1. So we have f1, Okay. F1. What's your move? I'm not sure I see it. Okay. What about D1? With the king, is there checks? Is there anything? Well, you have knight h3, but then that runs into queen h6, and again you run the risk of getting mated or losing material or something like that. So it's in between king d1, king f1. But king f1 does pin this knight to the king, and if something like king f1 and then maybe knight h3, queen h6, king e7 were to happen, well, then I can just play that. But I think I want this knight to be able to move. So I'm going to play king to d1, which is correct. Rook takes f5, and now I believe we just take the rook back, and there we go. All right, let's see. What's been the run up to this? Bishop f5, rook f7, king f7. Okay. Cursory glance at the position shows that we're down 2 pieces, and this knight on d2 is pinned. So things are not looking good. We have queen f6. Queen f6 forces king back to g8, and then we could play rook e7, threaten mate. Doesn't look like there's a great response. Oh, you've got knight h5. But I could still play queen f7, king g8. Oh, I'm being a dummy. We just have g6. G6 check, and then we pick up the queen on f4. Ah, that looks pretty simple. G6, queen f4. Yep. Not bad. Fairly simple. It's good to know that I can just chill out and take the immediate queen when it's presented to me. So it looks like b5, cb5, bishop takes b5. Okay. Knight c7 just runs into knight c7, and that's boring. So what else do we have? We have the idea of knight c5, but that only nets us a pawn because we just take the bishop. Is there a way to net more than a pawn out of this thing? Well, there's f5. Well, there's queen e4. Okay. This knight actually seems to be low on squares on a6. So if we play queen a5, bishop f1, rook f1, and then this knight really doesn't have anywhere to go, we could play knight b8. But now knight c7 just wins us our exchange back. So queen a5, bishop f1, rook f1, queen c8 falls to knight e7. Oh, I'm a dummy. This knight has a supported outpost on b4. Okay, never mind. What else? Although I think we're on the right track. Like queen a is this still potentially a legitimate continuation here. Bishop f1, king f1. And then, so moving the knight to anywhere but b4 is inferior. So knight b4, but then we just have knight c7 again. Oh, queen e4 attacks the bishop on e3. Because then we could pick up the rook, and then we would lose the bishop on e3 with check, and that's not going to go well. I would hedge my bets on getting mated sometime the next 20 moves, because this is not great. Okay, what else we got? We got f5, but that loses to queen takes e4. So we do have kind of our material move, knight takes c5, which is not looking to be a bad move. And if knight c5, then we could play bishop b5, knight e4. Okay, so we don't even gain a pawn there, because knight e4 hits the queen, and even if we go knight c7, can play knight takes d2, knight takes e6, f takes e6, and he's still... Oh, I can play bishop takes. But the whole point of that is to win a pawn, and we didn't win a pawn. So, what else we got? We have takes, 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 which is an option. Bishop f1. Rook f1. You take back, and I get the exchange back. I don't love that variation, though. This is a tough puzzle. Okay, what have we got? Okay, we're getting late on the stream here, so this is probably going to have to be the last puzzle before we raid somebody, so... Yeah, I'm not seeing anything here, boys. I think I'm just going to play knight c5. We're going to see what the solution was. And then we'll raid somebody, and we shall all have a good day. Yep, obviously not. It's f5, queen takes e4, f6. Okay, bishop takes f1, rook takes f1. What happens if you just move the bishop, bishop f8, knight e7? Oh, boom. Again, not bad. Very difficult puzzle. Probably wouldn't have seen that because this obviously wins because you have to take to prevent mate, and black will likely get mated soon anyway. So in this position here, we have two pieces for the rook, and the black king is not in a pretty spot. And even in the top variation, we have knight f6, and you have to give even an exchange back. So now we're just up a rook and a piece, and this would be game over. So thank you guys all who checked out the stream today. We'll now see if we can raid somebody, hopefully, and let's see if Alessia is still going. Alright, so how about chess tube? Ooh, chess bats are still going, okay. Hope you guys enjoy Chess Petzer, and I hope you all have a good day. We will see you back fairly soon for some more puzzles.